So hello everyone, I'm Chiyori Zhou and I'm a rising senior at SHSID, and today I'd like to talk about my journey from volunteer to engineer. So I am from a family that is typical of the declining birth rate and aging population crisis seen around the world. And during family gatherings, as the only non-adult in a family of 10, I have formed this habit of helping my family members by holding bags, reading menus out loud, and becoming the handrail when going up and down the stairs. So hence, when I came across the opportunity to volunteer in the hospital, I didn't hesitate to take this opportunity. And this marked the start of my journey of volunteering. So when I first started volunteering, it was very different from the peaceful scenarios that I imagined, because in the morning in the hospital, there's just like lots of people, and you often get overwhelmed by the number of questions that these different people ask. Also, because I just started, I sometimes got hesitant to answer the questions because I didn't really know the answer. And during those times, the patients would get very frustrated and wouldn't be willing to listen to me talk anymore and start yelling at me and call me incompetent. So it wasn't filled with those purely happy memories, but I still grew to love the place and understand the people because I saw how many elderly people actually came to the hospital day after day because they need to cure their disease, and they often needed to wait in long lines in order to see the doctor. And also, from both my hospital volunteering and from my talking to the elders in my family, I realized how there's always this information gap that exists. For example, my great aunt tells me that you should definitely carry an umbrella outside because there is like those different contaminous wastes in the rain, and there are nuclear waste in the rain, so you shouldn't just go out in the rain. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because if there is really nuclear waste in the rain, then we'll all be dead by the end of this rainy season. So yeah, so I started thinking about like what can I do to like help kind of close this information gap that exists. And I communicated with the doctors in the hospital that I work in, and they agreed to collaborate with me and start this medical live broadcast, which I named 加医说, which literally translates to with Doctor Talk. So for example, on the picture on the top, it is like one time where I collaborated with the doctor to give a lecture on first aid knowledge for primary school students. And the photo on the bottom is me and a doctor, who is the head of the infectious diseases department during the mycoplasma pneumonia and flu epidemic that occurred last fall. And these broadcasts attracted hundreds of viewers, and we were able to broadcast these correct medical knowledge to the public. As I just mentioned, during the volunteer work, I was quite overwhelmed by the number of questions that people had. And this inspired me to think, like, is it possible that we can create this medical Q&A chatbot in order to help volunteers to better serve patients? Since volunteers usually lack the medical knowledge needed to answer those questions that the patients asked. So I started researching about current existing chatbots, but I wasn't really satisfied with their performance, so I decided to create my own one. So I started to research about natural language processing, and I discovered that the current method in order to convert those words into vectors that the computer can understand is called one-hot encoding. And it doesn't really care about the meaning of words because it just randomly assigns words with vectors. So I developed my own encoder called Chiyori word embedding, in which you take use of the characteristics of the Chinese character in order to represent words by vectors. And through this way, I was able to create this medical Q&A chatbot, and there are actually 3 generations of it. And in the newest generation, we can converse with an avatar, and it can answer questions in both Chinese and English. So this project ultimately enabled me to go to many domestic and international competitions. And the picture on the left is when I was sharing my project with the public, and the right photo is a picture of my friends and I during the opening ceremony of ISAF this May. And these were all very valuable experiences because it helped me to converse with peers, and it also earned me many great friends. So apart from doing volunteer work myself, I also incorporate my friends into doing community service. As the president of the National Honor Society, I was responsible for organizing the tutoring sessions for Henan Shengguo Wanquan Primary School. And every Friday, we would teach the third graders different English knowledge by focusing on a specific concept. For example, in this right slide, it's like we taught them about koalas, and they drew about koalas. And these are about clothing and monkeys. So in the entire year, we held 18 sessions and incorporated more than 60 people from SHSID participating. And I feel like this was a very valuable experience because although there were many setbacks during the process, for example, there were people who just told me that they can't come a few hours before the session. But this experience was ultimately very rewarding because the students became more confident as we taught them English over the year. And they were very aware of the great opportunities that can be offered if they continue studying in English. So I also learned that the opportunity to volunteering can occur at any time, even if you're not purposely searching for it. So I went skiing in Niigata, Japan this winter, and there was a ski coach that I'm friends with. And he told me that they faced an issue with their website because he felt like it was too complex and wanted me to provide some advice on it. So I said, okay, so I went to and talked to him. So to provide some background, this website was extremely complex. So all the explanations were Japanese-based, and they had countless number of pages until you actually get to click the registration page, which is quite insane. So I offered to show him some registration methods that we use in China, for example, Meituan and these different apps. And he got quite inspired, and I tried to register him in these apps and help him to attract more Chinese customers. So overall, I feel like our discussions were not just focused on business, but also on trying to make skiing more approachable for foreigners and beginners. And there was also an information gap here because he was the service provider, but he doesn't really know what the customers wanted. So overall, I feel like the information gap creates those barriers that perpetuates inequality. These past volunteer and research experiences that I have taught me the very transformative power of access to information. Whether it's those language abilities, medical knowledge, or those technological understandings, the access to these different information can really empower individuals and communities. And lastly, I'd like to say that all of these just started from my role and my family as a caretaker, my hospital volunteering, as well as just a sentence in my research log. So overall, I feel like all that will happen is to be determined for you guys because it is your small steps that will decide the future. Thank you.